Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry winning the big one. TNA Rebellion, 19th of January. We're going to be looking at the show. WWE Invades TNA. Who would have thought that decades ago? Who would have thought back when, Hogan was still in TNA and Bischoff and basically WCW, but, just for pensioners. Who would have thought this would have come around? New partnership between both brands and both companies. And I really enjoyed this show. I really, really enjoyed this show. It wasn't just one or two, there were 4 NXT superstars turning up on TNA yesterday night. And do you know what? There was some really great stuff, some really great matches, some pretty brutal matches as well. The women's championship match was, watching it back, I was like this the whole time. Because there were so many spots where it just should have ended it. But, what a show. What a show. I really enjoyed this. Let's jump in and let's talk. And I won't really talk too much about the pre-show where Ashante Adonis turned up, losing to Jake something. And then you also have Frankie Kazarian beating Leon Slater as well. But looking at the show when it first started, you started off with Moose versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. And obviously, with obviously the system with Moose, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers and JDC, which, fun dungo. It was shenanigan filled. I don't think anyone's surprised that Moose retained this. I think Ace Austin came out looking really good because of all the shenanigans and Ace Austin fighting through it. I think he looked pretty damn good for it. But yeah, it's not surprising that Moose won, to be honest. You then obviously had, after the match, the system surrounding Ace Austin, and then Steve Macklin and Eric Young come out, even the odds, a little bit of a brawl, leading into the next match, which was obviously Steve Macklin and Eric Young defeating the system of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. And again, these guys, obviously, having had so much history with one another and so much experience, you're always going to get a pretty decent match. Obviously, still shenanigans getting involved from the system. But I thought it was a good match overall. I thought it was a good match. The fans were up for it. And that's the telltale sign it's a good match. You then had the TNA Knockouts Women's World Tag match with Spitfire facing off against Ash and Heather by Elegance, which Spitfire won. Good match. I wasn't really into this match, if I'm honest. It was an all right match. I say good, probably a step too far. I wasn't really into this match. I don't even think the fans were really crazy into this match. It was all right, nothing awful, but, nothing amazing. Then you had Jordynne Grace facing off with Tessa Blanchard. Obviously, Tessa Blanchard returned to TNA in-ring competition with Jordynne Grace. This was a good match. I really enjoyed this match. Tessa Blanchard winning this, by the way. This is a really good match. Like, loads of really great spots. The amount of times I was watching some of these shots and I was like, that was stiff. That was stiff. That looked stiff. And that's kind of what their match is like. Obviously, now, it is reported by a few different sources that Jordynne Grace is on her way to WWE. Shouldn't shock anyone. She's obviously had multiple matches already in WWE, having appeared in Royal Rumbles as well, which, the Royal Rumble being only a couple of weeks away, I'd expect to see Jordynne Grace in that Royal Rumble. She's been brilliant in Royal Rumbles as well. And, on her way out, putting Tessa Blanchard over. Obviously, look, whatever you think about Tessa is another story. But what I can say was, this was a really good match. And I really recommend watching this match. I'm interested to see where they go with Tessa from there, to be honest. I'm interested to see where they go from Tessa from there. For me, match of the night was the I Quit match. Josh Alexander versus Mike Santana. And honestly, this was so brutal. And Mike won this match, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to say. This was so brutal. I mean, he zip-tied Josh Alexander's hands behind his back. He's beating him with, I think it was like a sock with soap in it. He's doing, Mike's throwing himself through tables on top of a tied up arm behind his back in the corner. Josh Alexander, like, he's bleeding all sorts. And there was a point where, Alexander after the match shakes Santana's hand. He calls them to stand over TNA. And then he says, I quit. And I quit TNA, which is a bit bonkers. Now, he has been told he has to show up for TNA this week because he still has a contract. Let's see what happens there. I think Josh is out of contract soon in real life with TNA. Will he go to AEW? He'd fit there, obviously, due to the wrestling that they do. He could go to NXT, though. That's a logical step now as well for a lot of these TNA guys, where maybe it wasn't as much, 2 or 3 years ago. Now it really is. And, I mean, Josh in NXT, I could see that. I mean, I don't expect to be seeing him at like a Royal Rumble, but an NXT, yeah, I think so. Absolutely, I think so. You then have the TNA World Tag Team Championship match between the Hardys and the Rascals, which is, I was so excited for this match. And then just before the match starts, both teams are shaking hands, so it's good vibes. Fraxium turn up. Nathan Fraser and Axiom turn up. They sit on steel chairs right at the bottom of the ramp near the ring, watching it. Really good crowd reaction for that, by the way. Good match overall, There was a point where there was the Hardys got knocked into Fraxium, what's going on? Oh, what are you doing? And then diving through the middle rope, the Hardys get out of the way. They hit Fraxium. It's all kicking off. And I believe, if I'm right in saying, Fraxium will be defending. They'll be defending their NXT tag team titles against the Rascals on Thursday on TNA Impact, which, hey, that's pretty damn cool as well. That's pretty damn cool. But yeah, the Hardys won this match, by the way. They beat the Rascals as well. Next up was the TNA World Championship match in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match between Masha Slamovich and Rosemary. And this was the match that, genuinely, watching this, it was, honestly, watching this, I was squinting. I was, Slamovich putting Rosemary into a board of barbed wire, and it wasn't just like it was the one move and that was that and they got off. No, it was like multiple moves, multiple pins on there. I was like, Rosemary's back must be just shredded right now. But yeah, Masha Slamovich winning this match. But if you are into like a deathmatch style, quite gruesome, this would be a match for you. I'm not as massive into those matches personally myself. I don't mind a hardcore match, but there comes a point where I'm like, okay, this is brutal. And then another NXT star showed up. Cora Jade coming up, squaring off with Masha Slamovich, who obviously just won the match. And I'm going to see where that goes, because obviously Masha Slamovich was on NXT in the crowd as well. Could Masha Slamovich turn up in the Royal Rumble? I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised. And then you had the TNA World Championship. Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, facing off with Joe Hendry. And, there was an interruption from Frankie Kazarian, coming down with his with the coolest shot trophy. It's like a Money in the Bank kind of thing. He's going to cash in. And who comes out of the crowd in a long trench coat, his cowboy hat? JBL comes out, pulls Frankie off the apron, clothesline from hell. But this was a great match. This was long overdue. This was so long overdue. This should have been done months ago with Joe Hendry winning this. And it's not because I'm from the UK. I'm from England, obviously. And Joe Hendry's from the UK. He's from Scotland, obviously. I'm not one of those people that claims them as our own. That he's from Scotland, all right? This should have happened ages ago because he was the hottest thing in wrestling across all wrestling brands. AEW, WWE, New Japan, whatever. He was the most popular wrestler. And he should have done it ages ago, but they finally did it, which is good. And I will say, I think Joe Hendry's in the Royal Rumble. He will turn up in the Royal Rumble with the TNA World Championship, which is massive for TNA. As much as, it's great for the Royal Rumble and it's great for the publicity of it, it's great for TNA as well to have, their stars turning up on big PLEs, because it just gives more eyes over to TNA. Where people go, God, that Joe Hendry's really good. He's really interesting. I'm going to go watch TNA this week. And trust me, if he turns up in the Royal Rumble and that song hits, that crowd listen to how that they would sing that his entrance theme song, and it will be brilliant. So look, overall, I thought it was a good show. I really did. TNA have been doing some really good stuff over the last sort of couple of years, and I really enjoyed this show. Obviously, yeah, Joe Hendry winning was great. The opener with Moose and Ace Austin was solid. You know, the NXT people showing up, I really enjoyed that aspect of things, and the fact that that is leading to more things as well. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, match of the night of Josh Alexander and Mike Santana for me, fantastic match. It was brutal, but not over the top. And it felt like storytelling as well, which was the perfect balance. So overall, really good show. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Take care. Peace.